All right, guys, let's get started at the top. Let's start up standing, please. All right, so just for a moment, you know the deal here. We start in good posture, so it's kind of some subtle body work, but we also try to stand really tall, kind of just ground in center. Take a moment to kind of connect and arrive. Just slow down, right? Take our awareness from more external to go into the internal sensations of the body and the breath. Stand up nice and tall, maybe kind of roll your shoulders back and down. I like to do a couple heel lifts or calf raises. Close your eyes for a moment. Just take a couple nice deep breaths and try to bring the breath into the abdomen, so a belly breath. Okay, so in core class, I inhale. Let the abdomen expand. As I give a strong exhale, I let the abdomen come in against the spine more. So in this breath, a lot of abdominal expansion and contraction, okay? Last few moments here, please. If you'd like to set an intention or do a mantra or a prayer, those are all really big in yoga, all three of those things. Or give a blessing. That's also another huge, higher realm of kind of spiritual yoga. So when we're thinking warm up, we're thinking moving, all right? We're thinking spine and pelvic tilt. We're thinking blood flow and heat, major joints. But to start a warm up, usually it's front and back. If we do start warm up any other plane, it's very light. So to start, we're not going to use this as a challenging exercise, but to get warmed up, the squat kriya. Go ahead. Exhale, inhale. Exhale, inhale. Now, I know this stuff can get a little repetitive, but the squatting is such a foundational exercise, and it's really hard to beat. You start to get your hip flexors and glutes, your thighs, your hamstrings, your knees, your hips, your ankles, and then obviously the shoulders, okay? I like to try to rotate my hands. You can see my hands if I go really slow. As I'm doing my arms, I'm kind of like circling the hands in and out, okay? Not easy to see when I'm actually doing it. I'll kind of roll my wrists like this, right? I'll also, yogis, watch me. I'll widen my feet now and turn them out a little bit. And I'll just kind of, when we're squatting, guys, you don't always want to be symmetrical and neutral, right? You do want to widen a little and turn your feet out a little. It's also nice sometimes to bring them closer together or barely angle your feet in. So you can make these subtle things. You do 5 rounds with your feet here. And then you do 5 rounds with your feet here. And then maybe even a little wider, right? There's something called the sagittal squat where the feet are actually placed forward and back on different levels. That's a sagittal squat. You see how one foot is further back? Just to give you some kind of, ways to make this a little bit more well-rounded and creative. But a sagittal squat and the what we call transverse squat, where the feet are turned out and wider, or turned in and more medium, they're both more challenging. So in a warm-up, you'd be easy about those, okay? Warm-up is usually about hips width distance. But if you get into the pattern of always doing it just here, you're really kind of creating, very kind of linear strength. Let's keep going, guys. Watch me here. Circle those hips. Now, make this from the core. You can't see it, but I'm kind of sucking my belly in. So now it's kind of like our hips are circling. So that's the biggest joint in the body. Our spine is circling too. All right? And I'm not getting too crazy here with how far I can go. I'm switching directions. And look at me, I'm bending the knees a little bit more. I'm breathing. As I get into it, I might move my spine a little bit more. Try to make it about your core and don't force the depth right now. It's such a simple movement, but it's really good to wake up the joints, how it's stabilizing with the core. Don't forget that one. You know, there's many ways to do that, but we're using it early. Next exercise, guys, is the hip hinge. So hamstring tension, bend knees. We're not reaching for our toes yet. We're keeping our spine nice and long. We inhale. Exhale, squeeze the butt, the thighs. Inhale, wait into the toes. Exhale, squeeze the butt. If you know your kind of weightlifting routines, there's a thing called Romanian deadlift, where you take weight and you just let your arms hang with it, and then you come back up. It's the same exercise. Obviously, even in weightlifting, you would do some without weight, right? You go here. Before you squat, you go here. So if you're just joining, we did some squatting, we did some big kind of rotational spiral movements, and now we're here. Make sure, yogis, at the top, you do kind of squeeze your butt, lift your ribs a little bit, and engage your thighs. So butt and thighs engage, belly and lips lift a little bit, okay? Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Because what's happening there, guys, is the back line is lengthening, and then we want to shorten it, all right? Lengthen, short. If you know that myology is the cross-bridge mechanism, we want to hit both the Golgi tendon organ and the muscle spindle fiber. And that's how we do it there, by making sure we're getting that tension on the lengthened line and then the kind of compression on that previously lengthened line. So it's both types of those strength in the musculature. Come on. Come on, baby. It's good to do quite a few of those too. Let me just check my notes here, my little sequence today. All right, let's just go straight for a lunge now. All right, now at the front of your mat, still core work. Big inhale, arms go up. Now this is like a back bend really, right? You should feel, as my left leg step back, you're feeling that psoas, hip flexor lengthen. Nice underarm stretch too, and then exhale back up. Think about it, we did squats, we did hip hinges, we did lunges now. Those are all the foundations, okay? Notice I'm kind of pausing now, getting a little stretches, maybe bending a little deeper. The reason I like the step back, yogis, is because it's extension. So it's going to be back line, led as we step back. Because if we always go forward, you're going to hit that tension in the psoas more. So as long as we're getting some nice lunges, we're going to do one more round, but add the twist here in a few moments. Back up to the standing, please. Now, widen your feet a little bit. If you have a yoga block, I'd like you to grab it. If you don't, just bring your arms up. Now, if you do have a yoga block, try not to hold it. Just kind of spread your fingers and squeeze it so you're here. Now, it starts very subtle. Now, from your core, listen, don't let your hips move. So I don't want to see this now. We did that. This is kind of the opposite. Where in the first one, my head was still. See that? Now it's more like my hips are still, legs are engaged. You can start, let's do this. Let's go a little bit side to side. Watch, go a little bit forward and back. My hips are moving, no good. So there's a subtle discipline here, guys. You can bend your knees. Don't let your hips move forward and back. Just move from your waist and your core. You're gonna feel your shoulders a lot here, hopefully too. Let's keep going. So we went side to side, forward and back. What's lacking is the twist. Don't let your hips, watch, as I twist right, my hips are gonna wanna go. No, let that right hip forward. Arms straight, squeeze your block. I'm just subtly here, yogis, twisting right, twisting left. Twisting right, twisting left. That foam block's gonna start to feel heavy. And then, so we did all three of those kind of isolated movements, and now you kind of put them together. Don't let that hip move. I go left, look, I go a little back, I go right, I go a little forward. It's barely, guys. But yogis, it's not your arms, look. It's your core. Okay? And then you go the opposite direction. Try it. So we're gonna go for a few more minutes with the standing dynamic. We're gonna come down, work on like, you know, a nice plank, maybe a couple chaturangas, and then we're gonna hit like our laying exercise, and then we're gonna kind of go back through the whole thing with different things, okay? All right, take those arms down, take your block off to the side, shake it out, guys. You know, if you need to go like this, we're about to do this actually, but if you need to kind of, you know, throw anything in between, I totally understand. You know you have to add that in. All right, hands behind the head. I want you to take this a little easy. Maybe turn your feet out a little bit, okay? Stand up nice and tall. Try to relax your traps. You see the shoulders relation to my ears? Watch. See how I lower it down. I open my elbows, look. Left knee, left elbow. Right knee, right elbow. We've done this, but it's been a while, okay? Just kind of going through my notes about core work and you know, standing core work. What are we lacking? It's really key that we work on strengthening our core standing. Now, it might just look like this, yogis, look. To be clear, do some, if you watch me here, do some where you lift the knee wide and as high as possible and don't move your upper body much. And do some where you're lifting the knee less and going a little deeper in the side body. There's a lot of lower back there, guys. Deepest lower back muscle, okay? Think of that in the realm of side plank, triangle, half moon. Okay, give it a little one of these. We haven't done this yet. Loosen that up. Again, same exercise, but now across the body. Now, I don't want to see this, guys. Look, some of you, am I hunched over? No good, right? Here, look. See how I'm upright and tall? So same thing here. I even want you to squeeze your butt at the top. Now watch. We go across. We do this on our back, right? Where we go bicycling. That's it in a little faster way. But look, guys, I don't want to be like this. Look. It's almost like I back bend at the top. This is not easy stuff we're doing, guys. So if your body tells you something, listen to it, please. All right, now, I don't want you to do too many of those. Shake it out. Okay, now we've done this a lot. It's been maybe at least a month. It's the second round of our lunging, but it's the kick forward. Now, knee is easier, so it looks like this. We repeat the same side, right? So I go here. Inhale. Notice I'm getting lower in my lunge now. Or, now granted, we haven't done much like stretching, but yogis, a lot of times in life, you're moving throughout your day and you didn't stretch before, right? So teaching our body to move before stretching is good. We've done some more smaller activating movements, and now the range has been increasing, okay? And the complexity. Like I mentioned, you start with more simple and isolated. forward and back, more tensions. Then you start to get more fast, complex, compound, asymmetrical, and then things like rotational always kind of come after, usually front and back. Okay? Second side, yogis. Inhale, exhale. I've been really wanting to get back into taking martial arts. I've been thinking about, joining up for karate or some type of kung fu. A lot of similar disciplines to yoga there. Full body exercise, yogis. That's the goal here, okay? You keep going. So that's forward and back, right? So why don't we do a similar type of exercise, but lateral? Now you shake it out here. It's the same thing, except we kick to the side. Now, it's basically chair pose to lateral kicks. So it kind of looks like this. And then, come on, man. Inhale, exhale. Now, if you're new to this, this is challenging, yogis. So you can just bend your knees a little, what? Just go a little lateral. Now, before I was turning it out and going up. Now it's more just like straight lateral. See my toes stay facing forward? I didn't turn my foot out like we were before. So it is quite different. It's kind of like an adductor stretch versus a posterior medial hamstring stretch. So it's inhale, inhale. Notice I'm kind of slowing it down, making sure I'm not just flopping through this thing. If it's tough, it's just a little bit of this. Look. That's fine. We do stuff like this a lot too, guys. Right? We do stuff like this. We do stuff like this. It's all the same kind of thing. Just make it a little bit more exciting for you guys, and it's always good to, like I always say, is confuse your muscles. That's really how the magic of exercise happens, by confusing the mind and body. You see a child going through school or a young adult, they're always learning new stuff. And it makes them uncomfortable and makes them a little bit of stress. That's key for growth, okay? All right, guys, we're here in the end of standing. Now, this is the big one. It's the bent over twist. So, it could just go like this. I would suggest bending the knees. Go aside. If it's too much, look, I kind of tap the knee. It's a little bit of bending over, right? Please continue. All right, guys, my little pup, she's so crazy in the morning, and she just went over by the door and wanted to go out, and she had a little accident. I didn't let her out. All right, guys, let's stand up. Let's come to the top of your mat. I got one more standing exercise for you. It is just more one-legged. I just want you to go slow, okay? So you hover one foot, and you do our second hip hinge here. It's Warrior 3 in yoga, but then you come up. The real goal is to kind of drive through your right heel and lift your left knee. You can do hands on hips. You could even go hands behind your back, okay? You're gonna straighten that leg, and then you can bend. And I'm really lifting it up here, okay? Inhaling. Exhaling. notice it's repeated on one side. Now, I always say you start with like 3 to 6. You're just coming off injury, you do 3, you see how your body reacts. You're feeling pretty good, you do 6. You're feeling good, you do 9. But like ideally, it's like 15 if you can. You want to really kind of create that memory in the body. Okay, keep going, please. Second side when you're ready. Come on. This is one that I pretty much do like multiple times a week. It's one of the standards, right? So, this hyper hip flexion and extension asymmetry. Like say, oh, your back hurts like crazy and you realize it's the asymmetrical nutations or tilts to your pelvis. You do like a bridge with flexion resistance on an extension resistance on one side. So it's kind of like correcting imbalances in like the sacral SI. There's a lot more to that, but that's a very general way to say that. It's really good stuff, guys, to remember this exercise and do it regularly. You notice we do this one a lot, whether it's holding it, whether it's moving in and out, which I do in the core yoga. All right, guys, when you're done and you did both sides well, remember, my left side is a little it's a little less strong. It's a little less balanced. Well, I would do a few extra rounds on that side for me, okay? Top of your mat, bend your knees. If you want a big shoulder stretch, you're here. Forward fold, just kind of reaching for those toes. If you want to do your forearms intertwined, you can. If you want to, walk your hands a little side to side. Remember, I try to encourage looking for the stickiness in your body, especially if you're feeling good. You want to, go to that hard to describe places in the body, these kind of like weird movements and positions to get that spaces we don't often get in a lot of these kind of set up poses. Our next position is the down dog. So you're going to take a few breaths here. You know the deal here, stretching out your feet, shaking your head, yes and no. Maybe even lifting a leg if it feels good. Just a few moments to kind of, stretch out after our standing 20-minute series there. No. Yeah, it's your down dog, right? What does your pup need today? A little bit of extra movement, a little bit of extra leg strength. You could circle hips. Even though we did that, it's always good to revisit kind of moving your hips freely. And then this is the first time that head is below the heart, so we should take a few extra breaths. Now focusing on breath, lifting the hips up and back, letting the head dip low, softening the back of the neck. I always suggest to remember like an apple dangling on a tree. It's really just hanging in space. So that becomes almost like a weight that's kind of pulling through the spinal column lightly, only 8 pounds, that's perfect. Got a few more breaths if you can manage here, guys. If not, child pose is a nice backup. If you remember from our inversion workshop this Sunday, both child pose and dog are like what we call frontal lobe inversion, increasing blood flow to eyes and the front of the brain, right? So there's other poses like the previous forward bend is more of the crown of the head inversion, top of the brain inversion. So if you missed it, it's going to go up on my YouTube soon. All right, guys, we're going to shift forward to plank. I know it's a lot on your arms right now, but that's really the point because we haven't had any weight bearing. We want to get to where you struggle mentally and physically.
Like I said, that's where the magic happens. If you feel good, hover your right foot. But I want you to hold. We got to try to hold this stuff, guys. Right foot hovers. Oh, you feel excellent. Left arm forward. So my right foot and my left arm forward. Don't let your hips dip. You can do it on the knees. You can do it on the forearms. You can do it on the fingertips. One of the most advanced kind of body forms in plank is called planche. It's actually where both feet hover. It is crazy, but people do it, all right? I don't really push that stuff anymore. I don't want to beat my body up too much. Okay, make sure you do your second side here. So foot and hand down. I know a lot of you are already done, but come back and join us when you can. That is how you're going to get stronger, by pushing yourself into the space where you can't do it. Basically, you fail, and then you come back. Okay, left foot hovers, right arm reaches forward if you're trying it. Last couple breaths. No, baby. No. Come on, baby. Come on. So it's a good minute, 2 minutes in a plank form, breaking, coming back in. After dog, it makes it even more difficult. I understand that, but really, we want that, guys, okay? Now listen, we're gonna slowly come back to dog and drop down to the knees. I wanna give you a quick stretch. Knees together, hyperbending your knees. It's trying to sit between your heels. I tend to exercise like this, like I'll push my body real hard, but still being productive. I can slow down my heart rate here, calm my nerves a little bit, but still get something done here. Right? Our shoulders go behind. You were just here with your shoulders and then here with your shoulders. So a nice kind of counter. Notice I did turn my hands back, kind of opens the chest more. Okay? I lift my chest. I'm breathing. My knees are together. Tough to see. With practice, you go back a little further, but don't force it, guys. In a sense, it's a little mid-class meditation. A practice of centering and calming, grounding, being still. So now I want to do something between those two postures. So it is another type of plank and dog, but it is a movement between, but adding a complex now. In case you didn't get to do the balancing one, here's your opportunity. If I may demonstrate quick, my feet are going to go wide. Okay? So my feet are about matched with distance. I'll show from another angle. I'm going to inhale forward, plank. Watch. Exhale, dog, but my right hand taps my left wrist. Wait, my right hand taps my left ankle. I go slow, high plank. You could even go a little bit down, right? Left hand, right ankle. High plank. Right hand, left ankle. High plank. Boom. If you want a little bit more, push up. Boom. Push up. Boom. Okay? So now, this class is, yogis, it is really important to bear weight on your arms. I tend to lean a little bit away from it in this class. When we were studying the myology when we were studying the myology about how firing body, to make a long story short, when you fire your legs and like your core, you do get the similar muscular chemical response in like the arms, but not when you do your arms. I want like most of this class to be like leg and core dominant, but we should work in a little bit more arms because some week we're not really doing that much as far as weight bearing. All right, now listen, we're gonna meet in high plank and then let's do that challenge. So you could be on the knees, bend the elbows halfway. We're gonna hold. Come on, go crazy here for 10. Halfway down, 9. Halfway down, 8. 7. 6. 5. Hold it. 4. 3. 2, and 1. Down to the chest. Now, we just did Virasana, which is more of my lower body stretch for most of us, front body. Now, middle and upper body, front body stretch, okay? Cobra 1, or Sphinx, or Cobra 2. We will hold today, yogis, about another 20, 30 seconds. Try to pull the navel in and up and point those toes. Notice if you roll on the outer edge or the inner edge of the foot, probably be right on the top kind of middle line of that foot, shin, and like knee and thigh, okay? It's not wrong. We do rotational qualities in these poses in the hips, but it's more just wrong if it happens kind of without intention, okay? There's even up dog if you're feeling up to it, all right? Straight arms, hover legs. You can see my mat's bunching up because I'm creating length. Lower down, please. Take a quick child pose if you like. So I did mention having a slippery surface available. Let's drop to the knees, swing it around. So we just stretched our front body a lot. The hip flexors, the quads, the shins, and up through the abdomen, okay? Now we're gonna do the core ab work. So I'm gonna lay right down on my back today, and we're gonna break this down with some of the biomechanics. It just starts with a little crunch. It's called abdominal or spinal flexion. So I start with my head on the ground. If you want more, you could go legs forward, but if your lower back peels up off the ground, the whole goal is to keep your lower back arched down, okay? So as soon as I start to bring my legs forward and create what's called like a lever or more weight, that weight is gonna wanna arch my back. You wanna fight that urge, okay? So it just looks like this, yogis. Straight up, straight down. Straight up, straight down. Notice I'm not like going all the way down. I'm tapping my shoulders. Now, it's much more difficult here. And you can hear my breath there. I'm exhaling. I'm not crunching forward. I'm crunching upward. My lower back must stay down. Couple more. Another way to do this, yogis, is just legs on the floor. We've done that. As I lift my shoulders, lower back down, lower back down, lower back down. Last few. You're being kind of there, girl. You're being there, girl. You're being there, girl. You're being there, girl. No. You're being there, girl. All right, guys, now let's come back to center here. Now, we want to do like the opposite. It's called like a reverse crunch where my pelvis lifts, okay? Now, let's start with our arms and hips down. Lower back presses down. Hips lift, hips lift, hips lift. Hips lift, okay? You want a little bit more? Watch me here. Same principle. As my legs go forward, my lower back's gonna wanna arch. You can't let that happen, guys. That is literally tension in your lower back arch. Now, that can actually be good as you're developing strength, but it can be very risky. No. Sorry, guys. I think she's getting excited because I'm like yelling right now. So legs go forward, inhale. Exhale, reverse crunch. I want you to go really slow, yogis. Now my legs are the thing that's moving, not my upper body. So we're still right in the symmetrical front body. No. Where's your bone? Where's your bone? I often talk about how, the double hollow body, especially in the dynamic form, is usually considered number one on your EMG chart. There's so many ways to do it, granted, But how I'm doing it right now is kind of like the basics, the fundamentals that are gonna really help you develop the more complex form. All right, guys, now, next exercise, I wanna go rotation. We haven't done this one in a little bit. If you have a block, put it between your thighs. Arms go wide down. Knee is gonna go straight to the right. You're gonna pause. As my knees go right, left shoulder rolls down. Squeeze your block. Pull your belly in a little bit. Exhale, eventually back to center. So you notice, I go to the side, and I take a good 3, maybe even 10-second pause, an extra breath or 2, and then I come back to center. So I'm letting that kind of weighted tension happen. You guys understand the difference in tension, right? In this one, as if my knees go right, you're gonna feel the strain in your left. That is tension. It's a muscle that's lengthened that has to be strong. Whereas when we were just doing our crunch, that's compression strength, right? So the muscle never really lengthened that much, even though there is tension granted in both, but it's a little bit more, let's strengthen that muscle, let's not let it lengthen. And then let's bring it back shortened. The other one is like, let's see how far we can shorten it, right? So there is a big difference. You got a few more. Now, you know the drill here. Sometimes your legs go really straight. Sometimes you hold and like pulse. You hold on this angle and then you like go down and up, and then you go lower. You even hover like an inch off the floor if you're feeling like super excellent. Control, body awareness and form do precede range of motion. But eventually when you're feeling good, you slowly increase range. I train a lot of full range stuff, guys. I did weighted squats yesterday at the gym, right? You know, about 80% of my body weight. 135 is all I did, 4 sets. All the way down, I'll hold here, all the way up, right? Even a little squeezing of the butt, so extension pattern. All the way down, all the way up, if I'm feeling good. Granted, once in a while I do half squats. My knees or my back won't feel great, right? So I'll just go here, half. Same with Romanian deadlifts, you know, I did those 3 days ago. I do Romanian deadlift, only about, 30 to 40% of my weight, but my wrists go below, and I actually round my spine. So there's a lot of benefit to be had in full range, but it's much more risky if the exercise pattern is not developed. All right, guys, you're done there. Bridge. So we did 2 fronts and then a big twist. I want a nice symmetrical back line. Bridge is fantastic. If you're feeling good, you can come up and do table or reverse plank. Just a nice static hold now. You can do a little hip thrust when I'm going up and down. Sorry, Leia is going crazy today, guys. She doesn't usually bite this much, but she's something going on now. She's lifting her hips. I said she is. But remember, guys, the idea of posterior tilt here, okay? So posterior tilt is I don't let my back arch. I pull the belly in and bring that pubic bone more forward and up. Okay, let's take a few more breaths now, feeling the butt, squeezing the heels to the shoulders, pressing the big toe down. No, no bite, no bite, no bite. No, you're being bad girl. You're being bad girl. You're being bad girl. All right, guys, when you're done there, let's get to our sliding bridge. Now, some of us might want to stick with regular bridge. Sliding bridge now, how do we strengthen hamstring flexion without weights? I had you do stuff like this, but it's really like not enough weight. So say you're not comfortable with sliding bridge. You could stand up without letting your back arch, without letting your knee go forward, pull the knee back and just go here in a pulse. That is gonna really get the hamstring a lot. If your hamstrings aren't used to being strengthened, boom, that's enough. But look at the knee wants to go forward. So there's our easy option instead of the sliding bridge. But if you're up for it today, I'd like you to try. Okay, what we're gonna do here is go up in the bridge, and you really have to brace yourself.
No bite, no bite. Okay, you're gonna lift your hips. Slide your legs forward a little. Pull back with your back, your arms, and your feet. Okay, just notice I don't want my back to arch. Still, posterior tilt. As I go more forward, now you can go a little forward. See that? Kind of hold it for a moment. You'll feel how much more hamstring it is. And then I pull back. Okay? You know the drill here. You know, once you get really good at this here, one leg, but you know, lay it. You're basically eventually going to go legs all the way straight, but notice my feet do flex. Hopefully you can see. So I'd like you to try to get to, like I said, the standard there with no weight is probably like 15. But that's going to be really tough if you're new to it. So don't worry about, you know, going all the way to 15 if you're new. Notice if your knees buckle in and out, please. Nice, Kev. You feel that in your hammies, right? Nice. Nice, Leslie, doing a one-legged bridge. Nice substitute. You know, the idea is like we always strengthen our hamstrings in the bent knee form, with knee flexion. You know, that part of your hamstring that's tight behind the knee. We don't really get that kind of moving, weight bearing in yoga. It's something we lack, kind of like, you know, these hyper pulls. There's a few other things, you know, we lack in yoga for sure. And it's a good way to add it in. You know, it's probably the best way with a little bit of weight. Okay, now take a little breather. I do want you to do one more round. Like I tried to show, guys, and Leia wasn't letting me show, was the one-legged. This is not for everyone. Warning, warning. Okay, you're here, and you go here. Okay? Now, granted, we didn't do much. Uh-oh, zoomies. Oh, God. Granted, we didn't do much like hamstring stretching, but we did do, you know, this is hamstring. We did that twice. We did one-legged too, right? That was our first round of real hamstring strengtheners. We did some stuff like this. That's going to stretch our hamstring. So I'd like you to get one more round. Sorry, guys. I had to let somebody take Leia because she's too distracting right now. Nice, Clinton. Make sure you check Kevin's form for me. Try to relax your toes. Nice, Jessa. Nice, Brian. Nice, Steven. The reason we want to strengthen our hamstrings, guys, is because it'll take pressure off the lower back. It'll support your posture better. It will change how you walk. And it will, sorry, the dog is going nuts. Uh-oh. Can you guys hear me good? Is that better, Adam? Thank you. Thanks for letting me know. If anything's ever going on, sorry, the dog was going nuts, so I'm a little bit distracted. Apologize. All right, guys, so that is just like our back body, right? If you think of the core, you know, a lot of front, the twist, and then the back, there you go. So, you know, what's our plane we're lacking? Now, we don't do the complex weight in the body here that often. That usually is considered like the advanced stuff. When the weight bearing through the core here, I do that more like plank and standing, right? So here in the end, I'm thinking something on our side body. So, you know, you could do something like this. This is a really simple variation. I crunch, tap the foot, but I'm gonna go here today, guys. You know, we've done stuff like this, but we already did that. Remember we did this? So watch what we're gonna do. We're gonna go weight bearing. So I'm here. I'm gonna have movement. Usually, if you're really good at side plank, just do full side plank.
So I'm on the outer shin, but look at me from the side, look at me from this angle. I'm not like this, guys. I'm not like this. I'm like that. Do you see that nice side length? So what we're gonna do here is tap the hips, lift the hips laterally. Tap the hips, lift the hips laterally. If you're good at it, you're here. I bring the knees together, tap the hips, lift the knees. Your body's going straight up and down. It's not going forward and back. It's not rotating down and up. Okay? We are back to weight bearing on our arms. What was nice about the sliding bridge is it's weight bearing on like a pull arm. So it is a pull. A lot of people, you hear this all the time in yoga. It's like, we don't do enough pulling in yoga. That's actually not true. It is more difficult for the beginner and the intermediate to pull. But you actually do a lot of pulls. We do pulls here, we do pulls here, we do pulls here, we do pulls here. There is a lot of pulls as you progress in the practice. All right, now second side, guys. Man, this class should be an hour and a half, right? I mean, really it can't be because it's too strong of a class. We really always almost do too much in this class for the average person, especially if you're not resting a lot. I always talk about that, injury can happen not because of the exercise. Like if you didn't sleep good, like say you ate a big meal like I did before dinner last night, before dinner, I had a huge meal before dinner. If I ate a huge meal before I go to sleep, your body temperature and heart rate are increased all throughout sleep because you're trying to digest food. You don't get nearly as good a sleep, and you do increase chance of injury for sure, right? So just something as simple as that. There's many other things that could affect if your body is going to take an injury from an exercise. So, in this class, I was coming back to the point, we really do a lot. It's good to come and, if you're not feeling good, just skip a lot of things because you can do a lot of the symmetrical stuff, just maybe skip more of those complexities when your body is achy, all right? So listen, guys, that was the side body, right? You're like, I did one side, then I did the other. Ooh. Last thing. After this, we're just gonna do dynamic hip flexibility, and then we're basically done, okay? I was gonna try to go back to standing. It's just not gonna happen today. Now, if you want one last thing, think symmetrical, right? So it could be this. It could be, right? It could be just this. Just something in a sense to bring both side bodies back together. It could be back line again. If you don't do your back and your butt enough, I'm like back dominant. I do a lot of back work. I do more back than I do front in the last year. Since COVID, I've been doing like less yoga practices and more like pull practices, hip extension and back practices. Because that was my weakness because of how the general yoga system is. So I've been doing like stuff like this, like crazy. I showed you my what a hip thrust machine. It's back body. One last option here for front body could be like Lolasana. It's this. It's L-sit. That's one of the Supreme Core exercises. You can even string them together. It's basically like, it's the same thing. It's kind of like this. Standing, reaching up, reaching for my toes in a sense, right? And if you wanted to go less asymmetry, I'm giving too many options now, right? It's this. All right, guys, so I want to get to stretching. And you notice in my email, I call this class Yoga Core and Mobility. Mobility, again, is defined as being able to move into range of motion while controlling weight, strength through movement and range of motion, okay? So let's make our way to seated. And I do want to make sure we unwind. Last week, I brought strength right up till like 10 o'clock. I got to give you a little bit more time to kind of unwind and release. We will stick with our kind of category of exercise today, the mobility. So this is how it starts. It's piriformis and glute rotational tension, it's called. So notice I cross my shins. My heels are not tucked under my legs. My heels are out, flexed, and forward, okay? So my shins are like parallel to the edge. Now, the goal is to keep my spine nice and long, to press my feet down, to hinge forward. I will show you from another angle and back up. With practice, you're here, right? So you can do double pigeon. You know, the whole idea is like, I always stretch in pigeon, but people never really strengthen pigeon line. It is weird that we always do like certain stretches. This is how you do it with pigeon. Look, the weight has to go back like I've been instructing. Watch. Same principle. The way I did this at the gym in my backline practice yesterday, if I may show you quickly. The way I did this yesterday, now this isn't ideal because it's a little too high. Look at this. This is pigeon. I took a kettlebell, hinge. I'm rounding a little too much. Right? I'm pushing through the outer edge of my right. This is like sciatica healing, right? Obviously, you wouldn't use a weight. You would just go here and try to push through your right leg to create that lift, the contraction. So that's how I would do that. Again, that's a little high. Just to give you some more kind of visuals about what you're doing. If you always just stretch your lateral rotation, which is like pigeon stretches like here, you're just making that thing weaker and weaker and weaker. No good. There's got to be days where you take that same muscle tissue area but strengthen it. We lack that a lot. The way I have you guys do it a lot is like this. Same thing, kind of, not really, but another way I have you do it is like this. Okay, and even just stuff like this, but there's lack of rotation. All right, guys, second side. Just think of this as dynamic active stretching, all right? When I'm feeling really good, I have my 2 30-pound sandbags. I'll throw one up on my shoulders, and I'll go down and hold, just like we would in any exercise. You kind of go into range, you kind of pause, let those muscles get the feel, and then you come back up. Okay, let's do it. And I see some of you is just stretching. You know that's fine with me. I think that piriform, I call it piriformis tension because it's a strict, like very lateral rotated. And if you do what I just showed, you really feel it. Like if you do it with weight, what I just showed, it is crazy how much you feel in the piriformis. It's not done that much, even in like the physical fitness, in the training. The idea of just looking at the muscles, we're kind of always stretching and strengthening those ones. Those are the ones that are going to need it the most. Because stretching makes muscles weaker. Passive stretching. Okay. Now I do want to take this same idea. That's outer hip and thigh. Now I want to go inner hip and thigh and more of like our hamstring, okay? Now, there's another way to do this for the front, right? It's this. We do this one all the time, okay? So that would be the front. It's this, guys, okay? So the same thing, we always stretch here, okay? Now, granted, I have had you do stuff like this, kind of similar, right? But now we start halfway and we go down. So it looks like this, guys. Engage your legs, lift the chest. Inhale, might just be an inch, because this one tends to be more difficult for people because there's nothing right out in front of us to push down and lift up. So having your legs out to the side makes this more difficult. Inhale, exhale, okay? This is the class in the week where I want to bring this approach into it more, okay? You know, learning this idea was really one of the best things that ever happened to my yoga journey, my physical fitness. Because yoga sometimes, man, you run into a certain training system, they will teach you this is right and this is wrong, with little to no, you know, rational behind it. Seriously, you know, I call it like yoga anatomy. It's like not like real anatomy, you know, it is, but it's a very kind of narrow look at our anatomy as far as musculoskeletal function. I was teaching yoga for years when I went back and got that 2-year myology anatomy degree, and it was just the best thing I really ever did, was just to learn more about what I am teaching outside the box of yoga too. All right, now that's good. You just got one side, nice job. I think a stretchy twist would be good. We didn't really do one, so you know, something like this or something like this. We're here in the end of class, guys. You got this, and then a nice just kind of closer, and then the meditation, okay? So if there is another stretch you want, I'd say make it, you know, kind of easy. Yeah, it's nice. Some of you are doing a headstand. Don't be shy. I always welcome that stuff. I've been trying to remember to do headstand every day. Granted, it's probably about every other day, but you know, get upside down, guys. I talked so much about the potential benefits in the workshop, even if it's just a soft one. But you know, to all the systems of the body, and really good. Make sure you do your second side. Now, to end practice, when you're done with your twist at your pace, you know, something nice could just be happy baby. If you want to go big, it's, you know, reverse crunch. You know, yoga is always talking about how plow is the most dangerous yoga pose, or one of them. Reverse crunch is how you teach your body to like safely enter and safely exit. It's this, because a lot of people will do this thing, like swing the legs up and over. But if we start practicing to lift those legs more, and the hips, that's how you're going to start to be able to get in and out of that more safely, right? Here, you're working here. Now, just throwing your legs up, if you have a block, you want to throw it into your butt. How about we say last 45 seconds, one more grounding, centered, symmetrical, ideally, position. And then we'll just call it a 2 to 3 minute closing meditation. Nice, Kev. Nice, Brian. You know, the plow is very unique, guys. We don't do a lot of weight-bearing spinal rounding. A lot of times we're always kind of reaching for our hamstrings, and it tends to stay in like more of the hamstrings or the knee, even, you know, the lower part of the lower back. But as I really round my spine and plow, it's going to be a posterior spine stretch.
And you're doing cat-cow, but a lot of times you lack that because we don't do spinal rounding. So a unique posture, okay? So listen, guys, you're gonna finish that up. I would just like you to lay on your back. I do have 10:01 in case you need to leave, but if you have 2 minutes here, slowly release, maybe shake it out, take a breath or two. And you know the deal here. We're just practicing calming our mind, body, and nerves here. Try to let your breath relax after you take that last intentional deep breath. Your eyes soften, your lungs soften, abdomen, everything just kind of melts into the floor. You let your bones get heavy. You try to be still and quiet for our last 2 to 3 minutes together today. All right, final pose.